Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing fine. For today, we're going to be diving into the fascinating world of happiness, the psychology of happiness, and how to cultivate a positive mindset. What makes us happy? How can we cultivate a positive mindset? And we're also going to explore the psychology behind mindset, and we're going to discover practical ways or tips as to how we can all cultivate a positive mindset. Why did I decide to speak on this topic today? I feel a lot of people have a misconception when it comes to happiness. Most people tend to think happiness is a destination without realizing that happiness is a journey. So many people think or feel happiness is supposed to come to them, it's a feeling they are just supposed to feel without working for it, without realizing that you actually have to keep actively working for happiness. You have to decide to be happy. It's something that you have to be intentional about. Now, what is happiness? What would you define happiness as, or what is happiness? Happiness isn't just a fleeting feeling. It isn't something you feel maybe once I'm able to get a stable finance, or I'm able to get a stable source of income, I'm able to get that house I've been wanting to get, I've been able to get that dream job. It's not just a fleeting feeling. Happiness is a state of well-being that encompasses living a good life. Happiness is that feeling of joy you feel moving towards your potential. Happiness is also a complex and multifaceted emotional state that encompasses the feeling of joy, satisfaction, and contentment. And it is also influenced by a number of factors like the psychological aspects, the biological aspects, and the social aspects. And to be able to understand happiness, we need to understand happiness from these three factors or these three aspects. Also, research has shown that happier people tend to have better health, stronger relationships, and higher productivity. Let's get into the psychological, the biological, and the social factors as to how we measure happiness through these factors, and what happiness is through these factors, and how we are affected by it. Firstly, let's look at the psychological aspect. Most times, people often measure success based on the satisfaction individuals have about their life as a whole. People tend to be happy or gain happiness by that sense of accomplishment, being able to achieve their goals, being able to do those things they've always wanted to do, being able to afford the lifestyle they want, being able to, just surpass so many goals you set out for yourself. We tend to measure happiness psychological in that aspect, regardless of who you are or where you're coming from. And then we have the biological aspects. And for this part, the brain plays a crucial role in our happiness. You should also understand that. And brain plays this role through neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. These chemicals are responsible for the feeling of pleasure and well-being. That is why it is said to say serotonin, or low levels of serotonin, is a huge contributor to depression. So our brain actually plays a crucial role in happiness, and sometimes in rare cases where we have low levels of maybe dopamine or serotonin, happiness is absent. And sometimes in such cases, we can't really help it when it has to do with certain things like this or biological factors like this. And then we now have the social factors. For these social factors, we get happiness from strong relationships, building and enjoying strong relationships like communities, groups, families, friends. We derive happiness from that aspect that we get people to do life with, we have people to share our problems with, we have people to, enjoy life together with. Then we have the socioeconomic status, that is the material things, material possession, money. It is a common knowledge that money is such a huge factor, or plays a huge role in happiness, bringing people joy, giving people the feeling of happiness. But then for this money part, what I feel a lot of us miss or we don't understand is the fact that for this money, material, wealth part, its impact on happiness is really, really limited. That is why you see cases where all your life you just dream to, you know, maybe someday own a duplex and a Range Rover, and then once you're able to achieve that, own those things you wanted, you know, that duplex and the Range Rover, you discover that you're still unhappy. You know, that feeling of happiness is still not there. So that is how the social factors also play a role in our happiness. Now, how do we cultivate a positive mindset? Just like I said earlier on, that a lot of people feel like happiness is something that would come to you, you know, or when you're able to do that thing that gives you joy, fulfillment, whatever the case may be, you feel like happiness would come. You know, you hear people saying, oh, I'm going through tough times. I just keep hoping that one day I'll be happy, you know, one day I will smile again. One day I'll be able to laugh again. You hear sometimes people are like, I've been through so much pain that I don't even know how to be happy, you know. I don't really know the feeling of happiness, or I've forgotten the feeling of happiness. Happiness is not something that it is going to come. Happiness is not a permanent state of well-being. Happiness is not something that you just feel, you know, in as much as there are days where you wake up happy for no reason. It doesn't happen as often as we would want it to. Happiness is something that you actively have to look for. You actively have to fight for it, because most times in our life, or I would say what I've come to understand from the little knowledge I've been able to get, is you have to fight for your happiness. Nothing good comes easy. And this affects every other thing in life, that nothing good comes easy, you know. You have to actively look for that joy, look for that happiness, you know, look for that feeling of gratitude in every moment, in every season, through every trials that you're going through. Because if you decide to, you know, maybe let the universe do it, or you decide to let your emotions do it for you while you're hoping, it doesn't make you illiterate. It's just that you really need to fight. You have to gain the knowledge that this is something that you have to work for. It's not going to come. Don't you experience times where you have this, you have that, all these things you've always dreamed of, all these things you've always wanted, they are here, and that feeling of happiness is still missing? You know, it's just to show you that happiness is not something that will come and stay. And just like every other thing on earth, that the bad things are always so easy, but the good things are very difficult. Just like I did in my 100 layers of nail polish. If you haven't watched the video, I will leave it at the end of this video, and I'll leave the link in the description box. You should definitely give it a watch. It took me 6 hours to be able to get to the 100 layer of nail polish, but it took me less than 10 minutes to be able to wipe every single thing off my nail. Every single thing, less than 10 minutes, you know. So it's so easy to destroy than to build. That is how happiness and sadness works, and you cannot do without the other. It is just constant key in the human nature that you forever feel sadness and you forever feel happiness. But in as much as that is beyond your control, that you don't pick and choose when you're angry and when you're sad, it is still somewhat in your control to be able to pick the feeling you want to feel, to be able to pick that state of sadness or happiness. You know, it is, you have that right, and it is doable. You know, it's possible to have some sort of control in the sense of what emotions to feel, and how you can feel it, how you should feel it, and how you can let it affect you. Now, listening to me right now, I'm sure as you're listening to me actively, there are so many of your problems in your head that you're constantly thinking of, sometimes even without you knowing, unconsciously. They are always at the back of your mind. If I should ask you, give me 5 of your problems, I bet you that you can be able to list at least 20 in such a short amount of time. You know, it's so quick to be able to figure out what is going wrong in your life. Oh, I have this problem, I have that problem, I've been this, I've done that. You know, you always have so much to say. But then in that same sense, when you ask someone, what are you grateful for, or what are you happy about, most times people will always take a few minutes to kind of try to remember the last time they were happy, the last time they feel or think they were happy, you know. They would always want to think, or sometimes you hear people saying, I really don't remember the last time I was genuinely happy or I experienced pure joy. And then you also hear some people that will tell you that when it's time for joy or the season of happiness, they'll be happy. And then when it's time for pain, there's nothing they can do. And it really doesn't work that way. You have to be intentional about it, that in as much as you're quick to have anxiety, you're quick to have those fears, those doubts, you know, from stemming from your sadness, is taking all over your mind. You're so scared that sometimes it shows its effect on our physical body, you know. In those moments, you can still train your mind to think in the positive light, you know. I am also someone, or I would say one of the tips that works for me is, personally, I love to check or look at the pattern in my life, you know. It could be anything, you know. That time I thought I was going to die, it was over, it was finished. I still overcame it. Here I am, you know. You have to keep holding on to that hope, that faith. And in as much as you're holding on to that hope or faith, you still actively have to keep doing things. You still have to actively keep saying things, watching things, reading things that will keep helping you build the hope and faith, or will keep helping you retain that hope and faith, that it never comes to a time where it's like you have nothing left, you know. And someone without hope or faith is a very dangerous place to be as a human. So that is why I would say one of the tips in staying happy is being intentional, you know, being mindful, and also practicing different methods like meditation. It could be just you sitting with your thoughts. No, nothing is playing on the TV, you're not with your phone, you're not looking at anything, you're just there, left alone in your thoughts, you know. You just have to figure out a way to be able to always find joy, even in the most unpleasant things, you know. That's most difficult and most life-changing thing could happen to you. But after feeling your pain, after crying, after going through all the emotions, because when I say you actively have to search for happiness, it doesn't mean sadness would suddenly disappear. No, it's always going to be present. But in as much as you feel the pain, you cry, you experience all the emotions, once you're done with it, you have to come to the understanding, or come to that mindset, that you always have to pick something positive of the situation regardless, you know. That's one tip that I also do that works for me, that regardless of how bad the situation is, once I've been able to get through my emotions, you know, and also in as much as we say try and get through your emotions, and as difficult as it may be, you should also remember that the world does not wait for anyone. The world keeps moving, you know. So you have to try and just fight the pressure of being so soaked in your pain that you're not taking the necessary steps, because you're just so consumed by your pain, you know, that even in your pain you can still struggle to always find a reason to be happy, to find something to be grateful about. That is why you hear people often say every day you can get a journal and always write something you're grateful for, you know, because that way, just like I say, most times, if not that you're in your season of plenty, or that period everything is just moving smoothly for you, once you're going through certain difficulties, there are times where you cannot just see any sense in this world. You cannot find happiness, even though you're actively trying, you know. I just try sometimes that I sit down and I just tell myself that as bad as this thing is, I am grateful that it happened this way because of this reason, you know. I will always find a reason, and when I do that, it gives me some sort of peace, you know, that in as much as I feel the pain, I still come to the acceptance of what happened, you know, and I am not too sad about it, you know. So you have to constantly fight for your happiness, because those negative thoughts will always be there, and it's so easy. You can sit down and in 5 seconds you've gone to realms and states that you should not reach because of how sad and depressed you are. So that's why like, it's something that you continuously have to do. It's not something you do today, you're like, oh, maybe till next week. No, when you don't, even in as much as you're doing it regularly, you still have those moments where it's like you're trying with everything in you, but you just cannot find yourself or bring yourself to be happy, you know. So that is why you have to continuously do it. So you have some sort of reserve somewhere that you don't really get to that point where you're really finding happiness and you just cannot find happiness. And I am also someone who believes that there is no situation that can be so bad that you can't find even a single positive thing about that thing, or something that gives you some sort of peace or joy, you know. We all just need to cultivate the mindset that you're not going to get happy once you have that dream job. You're not going to get happy once you have that visa, once you've been able to get that car, once you've been able to start earning this amount of money. No, you could be on a yacht with billions in your account and still not be happy. That is why you have wealthy people who still commit suicide. People who you feel they have all it takes to live and enjoy a good life. You still hear that the self-exit, you know, or they take their life. And it just goes to show you that all these material things, all these other factors, yes, will all benefit in that way, or they have a huge role to play in the aspect of happiness and how we feel joy, you know, how we perceive happiness, what happiness should be. But regardless of all these things, we really need to be active. We really need to go out there to always be happy. Find reasons to be grateful. You know, happiness is not a destination, it is a journey. Don't wait for life to show you. Just try and listen to who you feel was sent to you. Listen to who you're more comfortable with. So long you're listening, just listen, because as much as you think money will give you that happiness, as much as you think that picture you have in your head of you that will give you that sense of fulfillment and happiness, it is not the end. If you don't constantly work on maintaining that positive mindset or maintaining that happy frequency, you would suffer regardless of where you are, what you have been able to accomplish, and where you've been able to reach in life. Also, another tip would be building healthy relationships. You know, once you have people that you can call your own people, you feel safe in them, you feel secured in them, you feel heard, you feel seen, you find a sense of happiness. You have your family members, you have groups, you belong to a community, you have everyone around you that, you know, in one way or the other contributes to happiness. So one tip is building strong relationships, just relationships that they feed you, they give you life. That is why you hear things like, oh, I don't want this person to visit me because once they come and they leave, it's like they drain out all my energy, they take out all my energy. You know, you have to intentionally look out for people that would give you even more happiness on top your own happiness, where you guys are exchanging happiness and the whole situation is just filled with so much joy, you know, where you hear genuine happiness, genuine joy, that irregardless of life uncertainties, irregardless of all the cards life gives us, we still find happiness in all of these trials, all of these seasons, all of regardless of what is going on, you know, you still find a way to be happy. So yeah, building strong relationships definitely helps. And that is why you hear sometimes that you hear certain negative comments and you're just like, who hurt you? Because you know that this thing or this person is speaking from a place of hurt, because if this is a happy person, there's no way such words can be able to come out from that person. So please, we just need to find our own happiness, and then after finding your own happiness, it just doesn't stop there. We all have to spread it, you know. Just like it's so easy for someone to come here and the mood of that person can easily just affect every other mood negatively or positively, you know. So we actively have to be intentional of the people we involve ourselves with and the kind of energy we allow around ourselves. Another tip I would like to add is When you hear people say, oh, I always find a way to stay happy, I always find a way to remain grateful or to practice gratitude, it doesn't mean those people are void of life's problems or life's uncertainties. No, that is not the case. Every human being has a fair share of life, a fair share of whatever it is, all the unpleasantries life has to bring or life has to offer. Every human being has that aspect of that. So don't think your situation is so bad. Don't think that person has it better, that is why they can find reasons to be happy. No, it's something that you actively have to tell yourself. And when you are telling yourself, when it comes to things like that, you have to say it like you mean it. It's just like when you sit down here and tell yourself, I'm going to be great, and then you hear people say it like you mean it. Tell yourself. If you don't believe it, then how do you think it's going to manifest? You have to believe it. You have to have the conviction, that you are happy before you can be happy. It's not something you just say. When they say wake up every day and say things you're thankful for or journal it, you're not just writing it. Oh, I was happy today, I woke up. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to have the conviction to believe what you're saying before it can actually work, that your mind can take it up, that yes, today we choose to be happy. That's why you hear certain people, when they encounter, maybe they wake up to a negative message or information, you hear people say not today. Not today doesn't mean they are not feeling that pain or they are not actively dealing with it in their mind. It's just that irrespective of what is going on, they decide to stay happy. And once you're able to cultivate the mindset of staying happy in whatever weather, season, time, you realize that your life also changes, because being in a depressive or sad state and being in a happy state or joyful state, they all have different results. They each bring out different parts from us as individuals. So if you decide to not fight for your happiness, the sadness is not going to go, except those rare occasions where you wake up and you just have the feeling of joy or feeling of happiness and you don't know why. You're going to constantly remain in that sadness, and everything you say, how you think, how you look at the world is going to stem from that negative side. So imagine if you cultivate the habit of always wanting to have that positive mindset. Regardless of what's going on, that change will also come in a positive way. When you wake up, instead of getting so angry that this happened, you're happy that it happened because you feel like it saved you from something that was supposed to harm you, or it's just played out in a way that is more beneficial for you than if it had happened. Just finding joy in the little things. Don't wait for that big thing. Don't wait till you graduate before you think you can be happy. You were born with the right to be happy. You can choose to be happy every day of your life. You can choose to be happy every minute of your life. So don't wait for anything. Don't let any circumstance, any situation, or any living thing, any idea, any words be said to you or hinder you from your happiness. And one example I would always give is 5 people could compliment you outside today. Maybe you went to school and 5 people will compliment you. One person will say something very mean to you, and then you find out that throughout the period of that day, your mind is focused on the main thing that person said to you and not the positive things or not the compliments the people gave you. It's not like you actively choose to think about the main side. It's just human nature. Every human being is bound to behave or respond in that way, except people who decide to actively choose happiness. Instead of focusing on the negative part, anyone could come out or come up to you, say the most nasty thing to you, and you can decide to choose your happiness. And the happiness could look like you being quiet, because at the end of the day, this person knows nothing about you and their opinion does not hold any value or weight in your life. You choose to be happy, you don't say anything, you keep it moving, no one is affected, and you have your peace and you're happy. So it is human nature for us to just be like that, think like that. So that is why it is your duty, it is your responsibility to say no to sadness, to say no to depression. Guys, I understand that it can be a lot. I understand that it can be so hard, that sometimes you feel like you're putting in all your best, you're putting in what is left of you, and it feels like the happiness is not coming. I'm here to tell you that you can find happiness in whatever the situation may be. Just be intentional about it. Go out there, look for happiness in the little things. It must not be always the extravagant thing. It could be as little as someone bringing you a mango. You know, if you like mango, that could be a feeling of happiness. That is why sometimes you see people, someone will give them something so little and they are so happy, and other people are looking at this person like, okay, what's the big deal? Why are you so happy? It's not that the person is not aware that this is just a mango, but there are so many factors. The person decides to factor the fact that someone went out of their way to get something that they really like, and this thing came at a point where they were not expecting it. You know, that is what happiness looks like, and happiness can look like different things. It all depends on you, what you choose to be your happiness, to be your joy. My happiness could be being alive. My happiness could be being able to record this video. You know, it gets to a point where after a time you're like, oh, all I do is just wake up every day and record. You're tired. It's normal. It doesn't make you an ungrateful person that you're slacking or you're being lazy at what you prayed for to come. No, it is just exhaustion talking through you. Sometimes it could be pain talking through you. You know, instead of thinking that way, as much as you're feeling everything you're feeling, you could just easily tell yourself that you're happy or you're grateful that you get to do what you want to do and you enjoy what you're doing. And it's not something that will happen magically. That is why it is said that you have to say it like you mean it and you believe it, you know. So gradually, a step at a time, you know, you're able to build that conviction that regardless of what happens, you're not swayed from that state of well-being you've been able to cultivate for yourself. You're not easily triggered. Nothing can come in and penetrate you. You know, you have to guard your joy. You have to pick your battles wisely. You have to pick your fights wisely. That in as much as something affects you, maybe emotionally, it could be words, as hurtful as words could be sometimes, it is your responsibility to look at or listen or hear what someone or whatever situation may be and choose to not react to it for your own peace and for your happiness. That anything that stands against you and your happiness should be considered treason. If you're able to treat happiness like that and being able to cultivate a positive mindset, I feel like that will play such a huge role to your advantage. So guys, I would love to hear from you guys. What are some of your tips in staying happy? Maybe I get to learn one or two from you guys as well. We just get to learn from each other. You know, we just really have to find happiness in difficult times, in trying times, in those moments where you feel like it is the end. You know, there's nothing more left. You can still, it is possible, it is doable. It is doable. There are so many people, all those people you think they are always happy. There are some people that every day you see them online, they are always happy. It doesn't mean that they don't have their downtimes or they don't go through life as well like you. It's just that they choose to remain like that despite the situation. There are some people that can fake it, and there are some people that genuinely they're enjoying it. And why should you fake something like happiness when you can genuinely enjoy it? You get what I mean? So please just try. Like I said, anything that stands in between you and your happiness should be considered as treason. If you treat it this way, believe me, you will be able to enjoy life in a more peaceful and calm way. And I would just say, in conclusion, I would just want to encourage you guys that number one tip in staying happy or cultivating a positive mindset is don't make the assumption that everyone thinks like you. If you make that mistake, then I'm sorry, you're going to experience so much disappointment that will affect you so much. Never make assumptions, or never make the assumption that everyone thinks like you. The next one would be, don't take things too personally. I know it is easier said than done. I know that sometimes when you're already angry and someone comes at you, it is so difficult to restrain yourself and not trigger or lash out. I know it is difficult, but in as much as it's difficult, it is doable, and it is very doable. It has been proven over and over and over. Learn to not to take things personal, regardless of what the situation is, how your relationship is like, how close you are, how how intertwined you are with that person. Regardless, just try not to take things personal. And also another tip is, if you change your life, or if you change your mindset to a positive mindset, everything around you magically starts changing. You know, it is not cliche. It's not something that they say for saying sake. Once you're able to change your mindset to a positive mindset, magically everything around you also starts changing. And the last tip I would say once more is, never make assumptions. Never, in everything you do, never make assumptions. And always have it at the back of your mind that you have to continuously fight for your happiness. You have to be intentional about it. You have to pick your battles wisely. You have to pick what should get your energy, what should not get your energy, what should get your time, what should not get your time, what you're investing into, you know, should be serving you and not draining what you're already managing and fighting to keep. That is why I decided to speak on happiness, because I feel a lot of people are missing out on happiness because they have this idea that until they're able to do that thing they think gives them fulfillment or happiness, they will be happy, not knowing that they can be happy where they are and still be happy when all those things happen. You know, you don't have to wait for that moment. You can be happy now, you can be happy tomorrow, and you could have been happy yesterday. Whether you're happy or sad, life still moves on. Whether I'm happy or sad, 4 o'clock will reach, 5 p.m. will reach, 12 a.m. will reach, you know, it's still going to happen, or it's still going to work in that way. Life moves on. So why should you choose to remain sad when you can be happy and even be lighter? Because when you're unhappy, it comes with burden. You know, you feel this burden or weight on your shoulder, and then when you're happy, you feel so light, you feel so elated, you just feel happy, you know. So yeah, I just thought to talk about this topic and to just encourage or share tips as to how you can choose to be happy and to cultivate a positive mindset. But before we go, guys, let's get to our quote for this week. What is our quote for this week? Our first quote for this week would be, yes, you will rise from the ashes, but the burning comes first. For this part, darling, you must be brave. I just want to use this to encourage you guys. And then the next quote would be, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start wherever you are and change the ending. You can't go back and change all the times you missed out on happiness because of maybe your belief or the knowledge you have or your perception of happiness, but you can start today. You can decide that for the rest of the year, for the rest of your life, regardless of what's to come, you choose to remain happy. You know, when you see people being consistent, they are consistent. It doesn't make them different from you. They feel all those emotions. They are tired, they feel unmotivated, they feel all the things you feel, but they still go ahead to do it, you know. So that's can also apply to happiness. All the happy people are not special people. You know, they don't have some sort of magical power. It is just something that you have to go for it to come to you. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Once more, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like it if you haven't, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.